Minority Caucus congratulates His Excellency the President first on his election. This is the first time after the election that is being to this chamber, and
Mr. Roche, in the comment section box, when you look into the face of this man, what comes into your mind? Wabu say chem. Wabu say chum, not your hernani ye. Wabu, why you fine lay? I do about kind. I or bano about kind. Hernani ye. Why you say lay? Papa, we ought to why you say lay. There is no half terms. Why you lay? Hernani. Wankasa hernani. Omori. Inti Mahama to omori. Hernani ye. Why you say lay? Abu Bobby Cognac no Chibi, no Babat now. Hey, Ghana for. Now what is the new things in town? Say they are coming to see official. Doom son papa will see us no 10 years ago. No, you see a veteran for at least 1 year, but at the same time, almost almost over. Vivian Kuma Mewakwa. Well, Papa will hear him anyway. I had him say, Wabu, why fine. No other country said, or so would do so 10 years ago. Now, the minister and so Tibabi country said, we will be in doom so for 1 year. You shouldn't have to blame him. Wabu, onim the own momento
to deliver a message on the state of the nation. Our side, take this opportunity to congratulate you and wish you well. Second, Mr. President, on the 21st of February 2013, you notably said, quote, Mr. Speaker, the meat is now down to the bones. This was on the occasion of your address to Parliament. And you said that the meat is now down to the bones. This was at the time, Mr. President, that you were President of Ghana and you had served as chair of the economic management team of your own government. Yet when you came to this house, you lamented on the same state of the economy that you had presided and re-echoed the point that we are left with just the bones. Mr. Speaker, the President again says that he has delivered less ministers. But it is clear that his strategy is, if less, more divide. You have appointed few ministers, but more and more presidential staffers and more committees. Mr. Speaker, the President again.
Honorable members, please.
The President again came to this house with a familiar story. The usual lamentations. He packaged it in a language as though we have a new beginning. Mr. Speaker, if the president has any concerns, his duty is to fix it. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency, the President, has announced to us a cabinet of 19 with only 2 women. The daughter of the founder of this NDC, Senator Rawlings, is missing. Haja Ladi is missing. Helen Intosu is missing. Where are the women in this government? The Vice President.
Honorable members, please, order.
The Vice President is part of the government, and we are seeing only 2 women in cabinet, and the Vice President is sitting there. In percentage terms, we have only 10% of women in cabinet. Mr. Speaker, the President again, as part of his lamentations, is telling the nation that through some arrangements, they have been able to do 2 things: pay domestic bonds that matured, and then also they have successfully done some financial engineering to pay some energy sector debts to keep our lights on. My question is, Mr. Speaker, has the president any budget? This is the budget he inherited, the revenues he inherited that he has used for this purpose. The same government is condemning. Mr. Speaker, he has today told us that we have 2.2 million Ghanaians unemployed. But what he has forgotten, that in his administration, in less than 100 days, all we know is sack them, dismiss her. Mr. Speaker, on the streets of Accra today, the youth of the country are saying that Mahama Baku termination bebre. Mr. Speaker, we are happy to hear from the president that he is going to launch the Nkokonkitinkitin. We are happy to hear this, but we are curious because only yesterday we heard of a confirm. Mr. Speaker, the president talked about the school feeding program, and in his submission on the school feeding program and the status of it, he said that they are now feeding the children well. What he didn't say was that at the time he assumed office, the previous government had paid every single one of the caterers. What he failed to tell Ghanaians was that President John Ajekum Kufuor, who is seated in this chamber, was the one who initiated the school feeding program. He did not acknowledge him. Mr. Speaker, what are we seeing in this government? The same old stock. The same old stock. There's nothing new. There is nothing like transformation. Only yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the youth of the NDC besieged the headquarters of the NDC demanding for jobs. Where are the jobs? Mr. Speaker, today we are seeing the 184 or so filling this chamber, the 183, plus the independent MPs who have caucused with the NDC. Today this house is full, but Mr. Speaker, Mr. President must know that the majority is frustrated. They don't come to the chamber because there are no jobs for them. Mr. Speaker, we have patience.
Honorable members.
This is for no cancer, sure more. I won't want cancer, maybe this, I would have did it out of the but Umia, in Gusan Afeyno Markins, we are near punchy hose. The man is making a higher allegations.
Honorable Minority Leader, you have 1 more minute.
Mr. Speaker, when Akufo-Addo was here on his last sonar, Akufo-Addo had patience for Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa to speak. Mr. Speaker, there must be patience for the minority side. I cannot be limited, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what we have heard today fails to acknowledge the strides made in the last 8 years. Mr. Speaker, the president failed to acknowledge that he came to meet a peaceful and a stable country. 2, the president failed to tell us that he came to meet a public and civil service that the government, in spite of all challenges, was able to pay consistently. Mr. Speaker, the president failed to tell us that in spite of all the crisis, consistently, the Akufo-Addo government was able to increase wages, and the minimum we did was 11% as compared to his 10%.
Honorable Minority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, to conclude.
your time is
Mr.
up.
Speaker, to conclude.
Honorable members, honorable members.
I was saying something about Babel, Mr. Chura. I'm not a palanca Sabiamo. NDC hate the truth. NDC for they hate the fact. So we shall say now would they figure through the truth on the floor and they punch NDC for then they become uncomfortable. Afeyno can simply that one where we are saying I yes, it's a demo and kuwa at a town there. Oh, John Dariga, ye, Mr. Ibu, all your campaign or country Ghana for say, or no, so be Ghana, minus one. Obama and ma 30%, and I am part of his government. And I don't say it is only 10% of his government, and I'm ma, where dim ma, or the money much from, where dim. Papa, no, there is no single group of people in the country. Papa, we one form when form. Also, the mark 30% of in the government, and net 10% now do more in the government. Yeah, you're very to check. John Dariga Dramani Mahama say school for many bianidi. Now, the band or nobody Ghana Konya when you're a biane papa at the school for. Who feed the people? And after your country say, now Oba na kada ho na or say that be Oba no na caterers no ye tua wonka. Adentia wonka say Oba no na everything was in the order. Young fan to check. It was initiated by President Kufuor. Anything for the fact that say Kufuor take parliament hono. Acknowledge him, just know him. Just give him the glory for what he has initiated. Well, but because of politics and cheap propaganda, Papa Ninko, Sako or opposition. He don't feel that he's in power. He don't feel that he's now having the mantle to walk Ghana with. On his opposition or Tintin, Tronen Kwasiakeka. So, Sakwe, Obedia Konya and Obedi. Government workers be anywhere, Yen Pianica, Yatio Biaka, Obian Sakanisika, Obia Nensa Akanisika. But one can want some say a Pia government workers. Papa, we are or two. On person of a kind of cresse, a yen of cresse, Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo, not buying bresso. Ghana man asundue ewo ekoso pa. When to me admit say Ghana is stable. Ghana is stable place to live. A stable state because of the way Nanado manage the Ghana's stability in terms of security. Yet to top rain, yet to top motors, yes, see Dama policy for, yet to a policy for Akatium, and all those things. Police stations are hold. This John Dariga Dramani Mahama did not acknowledge. So what is a Mahama Babejina Parliament as the first state of the economy? Now Obano be complaining the actually will say or mine no sika semunya. And yes, you are there, you it shouldn't be a new thing to you. Wouldn't be a tear. Because no, even when he was the leader, even but I know one can say the managing the economy of the state, you know. He came out boldly, telling Ghanaians, he said, Yahweh namno amanaka dompe. Sabre no, na enye obi na di akonya no so. No, ono ankasa na otie akonya no so. Enti obi ono na aba ono ankasa na aba ne wote so. Otimbe gina bontre kan che say Yahweh nam manaka dompe. What are you expecting him to come and tell you after his opponent has ruled the country? He will definitely tell you lies. He will definitely tell you there is nothing available. That man is a thief. He will always continue to complain. All complaining, now or divert your attention from the wicked and the bad things that he's doing against the state. Fenu tu timupa. Now Mahama here in the press conference another stakeholders in Sokasaya. He lead the the minority side to do a press conference concerning Ensema John Dariga Edebato Abontre. Enti yankune nkonkotie steka Ensema also in the name of the minority side Odebatuja after John Mahama has delivered the Sona 2025 first part.
Of you, but he only concentrated on a lot of misinformation. Ladies and gentlemen, 2016 GDP growth was 3.4, industry was 4.3, agriculture was 2.7, service was 2.8. But when we were leaving power, November 2024, our GDP was growing almost twice as 2016, and that was 6.3. Our agriculture was growing 4.5. Our industry was growing 8.9. Our services was also growing 5.0. So the economy that they inherited, almost all the secondary macro indicators that are very vital appraisal to KPIs were outperforming what we inherited 2016. Go and check our primary balance. Go and check our trade balance. Of course, inflation rate was around 23%. We took over 15.4. Don't forget that the severity of the crisis made us have inflation rate of 54.1. But because of the prudent economic management of the MPP government, we're able to reduce it up to 23% from 54.1 up to 23. The exchange rate went to 54%. Look at T-bills, they all came as low as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing I want you to know, that our president did not address the true state of the nation's economy. We have a lot, time will not allow me. One statement that he made that I was very much surprised was the fact that we had left billions of cedis at the defense ministry. But he failed to tell us the crisis that was looming. He himself emphasized the point that our boundaries were threatening our country. In fact, this is what I'll hand over to you. At the defense, dented achievements in the area of acquisition of equipment that has given us security as a country. He did not talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, our president failed to talk about the fact that Agenda 111 is ongoing and that some of the projects we have completed them. Government is about continuity. Government is about continuing what has been done. You remember the popular affordable house by Omanpanyi Kufuor. Previous government, being the NDC, abandoned this project. It had to take Nanado and Baumia's government to even complete those projects. Now he talked about railway sector. Tell me in the history of this country, apart from Nanado's government, who has accomplished unprecedented projects in the area of railway sector. Driving from here to Ho, you encounter about such major railway projects for crossing the roads. We have commissioned some of them and even brought into practice or operation coaches that are operating now. So if the president is trying to create the impression that the economy was so bad and it was criminally mismanaged, that is the reason he's been given the mandate, and that is why he was trying to intimidate the judiciary the bad way. But ladies and gentlemen, the same economy was able to take care of the poor child, implementing most of the enviable projects in terms of social intervention in kind and in cash on the continent of Africa and on the globe. But for free SHS, over 100,000 young ones would have been home. But for Nanado's government, NHIS had already collapsed under first Mahama's administration. School had collapsed. LEAP had collapsed. In fact, teachers and nurses' allowances, the most essential services in any economic jurisdiction, is education and health. But he cancelled all of them, making some of poor Ghanaians coming home only to be confronted with unwanted pregnancies, and some got into drugs. So we are saying that NPP government, in spite of the economic crisis that was unprecedented since the First World War, we've been able to restore the economy. We handed over a restored economy to the Mahama government. Operationally, it was so fundamentally correct that the economy that we left, in terms of primary macro indicators, in terms of secondary macro indicators, in terms of education, in terms of agriculture, in terms of health, they actually inherited a better economy. All the payments he's talking about, where did they get money from? Where did they get money from? Within this shortest possible time, they have borrowed almost 59 billion Ghana cedis. Only in 50 days. Only in 50 days. Less than 2 months. Less than 2 months. Mahama's administration has borrowed 59 billion, unprecedented. So all that we are telling you is that Ghanaians have given them their mandate. Ghanaians are expecting them to treat everyone, whether you are from the north or south or central part of Ghana, whether you are Nilaye or Kwame Asante or Dalali or Amegashi. Ghana is one country with one people with one destiny. Why are they even sacking nurses and teachers? Whilst in most of the communities in the northern part, Asante, and in the Volta region, they don't even have teachers and nurses. In conclusion, we want to tell you that in the first place, the economic figures have indicated us that we left a better economy. Secondly, the pro-poor policies are indicative of the fact that our economy was good enough. The process of it have been used to manage the pro-poor policies. Another thing that we left was a better security, safety, fundamental human rights. Ghana was peaceful. We were living together till they took over. So we don't want you people to go out there and be deceived. At the appropriate time, we'll give you details of every bit of the economy and then the social framework of this country that we left as a government. Go and count the number of STEM schools we built. Go and count the number of school buildings we put up. Go and count the number of health facilities. Go to the police. Go to the army. Go to all the security agencies. Unprecedented developmental achievements. So in conclusion, I would like to conclude by saying that the NPP government actually left a well-restored economy after what Ghana went through as a result of the severe economic crisis. Ghanaians were still enjoying that. I named all of them. Yes, Ghana went through challenges, but before we left, these challenges had been dealt with and the economy had been put on a very sound footing for the NDC government to continue the good job that we did. Thank you very much for giving us your attention.
This is the report from the parliament. John Mahama Agulanimase. Well, sometimes this man thinks Ghana for Yenimunyansa because after just 2 months in government, on your budget too. You must see, but I say in your budget. And to say when your budget there, quite Ben so no to make us a 1 pine na yen near Mabi. I was well, kind of for CNT wants to say everything that Mahama said that they have done since when they came in power. No? These are blueprints of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I Job, I wish you well. This is for case of a piano. Nina and Addo Juma. Energy power sector there to Muso Motima PB and another Sano Juma. And you are not Muso Modema school from Kura and another Sano Juma. Sabio. Sika Edaha multimedia appear minor who can in another Sano Juma. The Omon country and it's a mobile and Omambo Bosian 59 billion Ghana cedis in just 50 days. Hey, Mahama Bako, Bosian Bebre, Mahama Bako, Bosian Bebre, Mahama Bako, Bosian Bebre. In just 50 days, 59 billion Ghana cedis. Just 50 days. Or today, we say we will have more and more. Now, young fancy uncle and bill. Samuel Ukunso eba abonten betire na adwen. Aye, about what Mahama said. Young kono no so yanko tie no. Na de ya ne se andisifo kasa te se de asema esi wo wiase amansan mu nyina no. Asema esi wo wiase amansan mu nyina, wiase amansan nyina mo economy eseye no. Andisifo kasa te se de omonim. Na
out to this he
now, all said, no, say no more power in there. This challenge of COVID, among time was in the morning game tier, the Kassem a very long time ago. Say, NCBR, NDC will start talking about COVID. But almost finish on Becca Wasem because they know what they said to Nanado concerning this issue of COVID. But Ude Yanko and them a man time, and Basim became a Nika Krabi. Yanko Konko Tie, Yemia Sami Awuku. Also, and Sama or the Eberto Abontain concerning John Darega Dramani Mahama in Sunday submission. We are near Tuado.
Described the previous government's handling of the economy as criminal. What are your impressions on the state of the economy?
First of all, let me start from where you ended. A criminal economy was able to still employ hundreds and thousands and millions of people. A criminal economy was still able to keep our lights on. A criminal economy was still able to still pay our nurses and teacher training allowances. Well, arrears does not mean it won't be paid. Every government will come and leave arrears. Make no mistake. Even by the time you hand over, people have started working from 1st January. So you still have arrears to pay. And then a criminal economy was still able to sustain economic development. A criminal economy was able to ensure that indeed the Ghanaian young people had an opportunity in exercise of their constitutional right, the right to work, the right to economic empowerment and freedom. Throughout the president's speech, one thing that I felt was a stab in the back of many young Ghanaians who did form a queue to cast a ballot for President Mahama was for him to create more jobs. In creating more jobs, the president decided to let them be unemployed. You cannot create employment by creating unemployment situation.
Samuel Uku, according to government spokespersons, we understand that this particular revocation of appointments were done because all of these appointments, or most of them, were not done through the proper channel or were not done with the necessary due diligence.
What auditing did they do? Did they show you any audits that they did institution by institution? If you have the nurses, if you have teachers going through a training process by application, by screening, by interview, and the issuance of appointment letter, and you tell me that they lack governance principle, which audits did you do? Why were the audits not, the findings of the audits also not published? For all of us to also know that, okay, in Channel 1, let's say Channel 1 was a state institution, Channel 1 TV indeed did recruit 5 people. After the 5 who were recruited, indeed we've audited and only 3 were able. So it's
that there was no proper audit to ascertain.
It was purely a political decision, born out of emotions and born out of subjective ideas. And I'm saying this because, I think that there should be a paradigm shift in the way our governance processes work. Suffice to say, let's say that even it did happen, but I can tell you for a fact that this mass revocation, I didn't see any under the MB. But let me even credit them that even did. You promised that you were resetting Ghana. In resetting Ghana, what you did was to go back to the old things that you have criticized. President on his own social media pages criticized those times.
Samuel, your point is well made. But let
me go to other issues as well.
I'll come to you briefly, but still on the economy, very briefly. We know that government has promised to cut a lot of wastage we saw with the previous administration. You are the NLA, and you were directly under the Ministry of Finance. How do you see government's big promise to cut a lot of the wastage, particularly created by your government in the previous administration?
First of all, the wastage they are talking about, I think it's just early days yet. I'm saying this because the presidential staffers list and those who work under the office of the president will be submitted to the Council of State. It will eventually find its way to Parliament. To the original executives of the NDC have been given presidential staffer status. So don't worry. You have a lot for us to
doesn't bar them from
not at all. So if you are questioning people who are presidential staffers, then now I can tell you for certainty that some regional executives of the NDC have been made presidential staffers across the country. Staffers, and then also you want to form a lean government. There were some institutions that we didn't even have deputy CEO. And I'm giving you an example.
He stuck with a 60 ministers promise, which a lot of Ghanaians and the civil society organizations have welcomed. So that's a step in the right direction.
So you cut down to 60 ministers and create many more deputy CEO positions and create CEO positions. Isn't that interesting for you? Because it's still the government machinery that is running.
Well, it doesn't come with the same salary remunerations and cost in managing the office.
Let me even educate you the more on that. I was a director general. I was a CEO. I can tell you that some of the CEOs are even paid better than ministers of state. And what CEOs are entitled to in many of the state-owned enterprises is either equal to what a minister is taking or even more. Well,
when you were director general,
yes.
was it the same for you?
Well, I won't be able. Let me give you an example. The NLA director general was taking, let's say, from time that I came to me, from Glow's time, the NDC's time, or Sayamiao's time. Mine, I didn't vary it. It was around 24 to 26,000 cities. Even in Parliament takes just around a little bit of that, or more of that. But then I can tell you that a CEO will have access to so many things, including what this entertainment allowance, drivers.
You agree with me that a reduction from 120 to 60 is significant, so much that you can't discount it.
120. Or you are talking about the first term.
The first term.
Yeah. So second term, President Akufo-Addo did cut down.
It was still way above the 60.
I have no doubt. I don't disagree with you. But what I am saying is that if you are cutting down on wastage in the area of ministerial appointment and deputy ministerial appointment, and in the same vein creating more other CEO positions, is debit and credit. Again, when the president mentioned the big push, a $10 billion infrastructure big push, we've heard this before. We've heard this song being played. And
the communicators tell us it's a complete different initiative from the Hope City we saw in the first administration. No, but I'm saying that the communicators tell us that this is aimed to help startups and businesses thrive in what has been a very difficult economic situation caused by your administration.
What was the Hope City supposed to do? Was it supposed to address an entertainment challenge? Not at all. I just think that the president today, I just want to credit him with the fact that he did tick the box as far as his constitutional mandate is concerned by delivering a State of the Nation's address. Whilst in the chamber, and whilst he said he has fixed doom so, some parts of our country were in darkness.
It's interesting because the final thing I wanted to talk to you about was the power situation in the country. Yesterday, we witnessed the vetting of the deputy minister designate for energy, where he mentioned that power has been fully restored. There were maintenance work that had to be done. For which reason parts of the
your big screen in your studio, you always read what people are posting on the social media. They keep still telling you.
Honorable Samuel Oku, the concern by this government is that you left large debt at ECG, a 68 billion debt at the Electricity Company of Ghana, amidst other general administration inefficiencies. We've seen the audit
in 2009. The same NDC administration at that time said that Ghana was not broke. While they were campaigning, they said Ghana was broke and all that. But going to the IMF, they painted a picture to the IMF that we're on solid ground. President Mahama, in his first term, in his last State of the Nation's address, he said that when he was president, that now the meat is down to the bone. My brother. So that's what I'm saying. The only consistent thing about the NDC has been their inconsistencies as far as these national issues are concerned. Now we need transparency. If we are calling for the minority to be cooperative with government and come on board to fix the numerous problems of our country, we'll respect that call. But where it is selective, where you can see deliberately that the government is picking and choosing and using the coercive machinery of state to even intimidate people, and also ensuring that by the stroke of a pen, tens and thousands of many young Ghanaians are losing their job, we cannot be a party to this food bazaar.
I want to talk to you finally on the health sector. We heard the president talk about efforts underway to mitigate temporary hold back on funding for major interventions here. Are you satisfied with the president's directive to the finance ministry to look for mitigating ways to ensure
critical national debate and a critical national issue? It will be in our own collective interest that the funding gap is properly addressed for us to also mitigate that.
To say you are satisfied with the president's response?
As for the president directing, it's the same old story. I want a situation where it's not I am directing or this, but we see the operationalization of the direction.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, abusuafo Rexford antwimi ya mwakwa. Abusuafo nyina ya tibi. Mahama guna ni mase, guna hu ni mase poto in every aspect of his state of the Ghana economy. Because and some of our ni nyina ya nimbu asesem. Because as a president there, you know ba say come and solve the problems. But you come and you want to bastardize your predecessor say wanyere ena waye wasay Ghana amanyo no wasay Ghana sika ye ni sika ahia yen ni nyina aye kotompo ene nabraba na ene we aye just for the shake we aye milk shake na me de bremo o chire be shira transfer na ya dwadwe mu yie ai nsem fon okaye ya be shira fa the speech na nkasa okana ye biebiem na mate no mahu Mahama ni subai mo ka se na Mahama edabia na o jabo yewura Dr. Mawumia ene ti asema Mahama ka wo de ti asema Mahama ka no ha ebe ye wonwa nkasa wonwa ti.
Yes, since I stood in this chamber at this very spot to declare my determination to fix Dumso, a legacy problem of power shortages. And Mr. Speaker, I fixed it. Yes, I promised to fix it, and I did. And I wish to place firmly on record that from January 2016 until I handed over the administration of this in 2017, there was no power rationing or load management in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, today, inspired by the Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the good people of Ghana, I am moved to make a similar purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity.
Yes, Abusia, Johama, Elhano, I can't say man enough for no, or one year kakra. This man said he's going to fix. Yeah, I want 2028 to come early. 2020, but do not gonna ya titina bubuna pam sam no na ope ukitiska kure podiane atawu nya bi na watodi. Mark my words. Mark my words on the wall. Papa way. Now he's coming to build him and his family. Also now no other in just 50 days. Apollo one spend saying 59 billion Ghana cedis of Wabobosia. And then 3 hours of meeting. 3 hours, just 3 hours of meeting. Oh, 3 hours of meeting. They spend $52 million. Just 3 hours of guarantee of a meeting. They spend that money. There was somebody poor. There was somebody poor. Now they tell you kind of what.
The last attempt by the previous administration to re-establish a national airline has failed. We will reopen a transparent process that will receive expressions of interest to invite competent established partners to work with us to establish a national airline. We believe that an efficient national carrier can help reduce fares on routes where external carriers are currently enjoying a monopoly. This is on expanding our national digital infrastructure to stimulate innovation and enhance public service delivery. We're also dedicated to improving access to information and communication technology, promoting the digital economy, ensuring inclusive and equitable growth across all sectors. Nevertheless, the sector faces several significant challenges that hinder our progress, and these include insufficient infrastructure for delivering weather and climate services across all time zones, fragmented and uncoordinated databases, outdated legislation and policies that do not keep pace with a rapidly evolving sector, a lack of adequate technology to effectively detect, prevent, and respond to cybersecurity threats, and a daunting debt burden of almost 2 billion cedis. To revitalize this sector, government is committed to reviewing existing laws and policies to better align the excellence bill. This legislation will establish the necessary framework for the center to concentrate on research and development, consultant